Hello, folks, and welcome back to Petalburg Woods, where the grass is green and the girls are pretty. Let's talk some Pokemon. As always, this is the show where we go into the world and universe and lore surrounding Pokemon, the Pokemon games, but the people playing them and the way that they make us feel. As always, I am your wonderful host, Droomish. I'm joined by...
I'm your other wonderful host, Capreo. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
And today, folks, we have a very special episode. We had a wonderful... I was very endeared. We had a write-in to the channel email. Very exciting. And so today we are joined by wonderful blogger, land extraordinaire, really an adventurer in their own right, as I would describe them at this point in knowing them. But we are joined by Awood. Awood, how's it going?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me tonight. Just to get introductions out of the way. My name's Awood. Sometimes I host in-person events for some Pokemon games. I'll go to occasional conventions. Also, I used to be a admin for my college's RIT Pokemon Club. And when I was an admin, I would try to come up with events and different experiences for people to have where they could interact with the games in a fulfilling way. For example, one of the things that I did was I actually made a catching contest, for example. This was for the newer games. I think tonight we're mainly going to be talking about the classic games, but because that's kind of more of my expertise. But in addition to that, I am the land extraordinaire. I'm a Counter-Strike player by spending most of my time playing Counter-Strike in the past, but I've been trying to devote more time into more casual things like Pokemon meetups and other things such as that, So once again, thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
You're so welcome. Yeah, it's so great to have you. Which, as Awood has alluded to, that's the kind of core of what we're talking today, the in-person multiplayer, the local, almost like zeitgeist, to use a word that's a little big for my britches, surrounding local multiplayer in Pokemon, because it's a whole thing. They've always been very creative, I guess, is a word that I would use in like getting people to connect with each other. And I think it's one of the most special things about the games. But before we get into that, as I always like to ask, Capreo, we can start with you. What are we playing? What are you doing with Pokemon lately? Our quick icebreaker. Quick updates.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Absolutely. Okay, so a friend of mine, Tragic Toaster, who is in my Discord, watches my streams, him and I started our Ribbon Master journeys at around the same time, okay? And I thought, that I had a large mountain to climb, choosing 3 Pokemon to Ribbon Master at once. Toaster doubled that and went even further and opted for a full team of 6, which is outrageous anyway. And so I've been, I've been doing a bunch of stuff like that. We basically both kind of decided to do this Ribbon Master thing several months ago now. This was probably summer last year. And then Toaster the other day in my Discord posts, that they're moving on from Generation 4 to Generation 6. And I, with my team of 3, am still trying to get the first ribbon from the Emerald Battle Tower. And so I am all hands on deck. Toaster basically said, I have double the guys that you have, and I'm trying to Ribbon Master them. And I am so very far ahead of you, Capreo, and it was both. It was loving, but it was also come on, you gotta smarten up and hurry up. So I am now like I said, all hands on deck with the Emerald Battle Tower, and I have been bashing my head against that wall more than more often in the last couple of weeks, and it is driving me crazy because the Emerald Battle Tower cheats, and but it's fine and it's funny and it's, I don't know, made for some clippable moments. And LRXC rated me the other day after LRXC gave me some very questionable advice about his Steelix. All of that to say, God, I love Pokemon Emerald, but holy shit, the Battle Tower is so like broken and unfair. But anyway, as long as you like have that expectation of it going in, then it's not, you can't be too mad about it, I guess.
It cheats and lies.
It cheats and lies.
Pretty decidedly, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not going back. I'm still not going back to it. It's been like another 2 weeks have passed. I've thought about it. I've watched you like piss and cry about it. I'm not doing it. Maybe someday.
It's the path that every Emerald enjoyer must take at least once. Because I remember going through that too. It was a pain. And the good thing is that you're not getting the full 70 with the ribbons, but depending on what you've picked, it still is probably going to be pretty difficult. Tower for me was the hardest place. Just due to how high the
Did you beat
needs
it?
to be. Oh yeah, I did it. Yep.
With who? Because we need expertise.
Oh, man.
We need help.
Oh, this was a couple of years ago during the pandemic. I used Metagross, of course. I used Snorlax, and I used Suicune.
Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
So,
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
This is big intel.
It's huge.
We've been looking for teams, and we were, I think, pretty resigned in like scraping a build off of like the Smokin' forums about it, like looking at one of these teams that just like hit like several hundreds. But I saw Snorlax on there a lot. Of Metagross too, but Snorlax seems to see a really reasonable pick for clearing the tower. It can do a lot.
Absolutely, yeah. Once again, I can't really even tell you the move sets I had. Once again, it was a couple of years ago, but and that's the Battle Tower. Absolutely, you should. It's a place where you want to do your research and you want to make sure you're getting the right picks. For me, I didn't want to do the the Worcester speed run picks where it's like Swampert, Metagross, Latios. Like when you go through that challenge, you want to actually make a team that's like of your own, and something that at the very least you might research a little bit, but still at the very least it's still your own team. But yeah, oh geez, like I remember the first one I cleared with gold. It was Battle Dome, and I didn't know that the IVs were all set to 0 for Battle Dome for your opponents. Or I think it's like that's the one where it's set to all 0 for your opponents, or it uses the Battle Towers in your current streak. No, Battle Dome's is always 0. And I remember I used Ampharos, Regice, and what was my last Pokemon? It was just something like off the walls, and I'm like, I got the dome completed. This is going to be easier than I thought. No.
Little did you know. Yeah, I completely underestimated the tower because I was like, there's no gimmicks. It's just straight up and down battling, and so it should be fine. But I think the gimmick of the tower is that there are so many fights, and so there is so much opportunity for bullshit to happen.
And that's exactly what it was, because at the very end, I had Factory and I had Tower left. And the thing is,
the two really fair ones that do not ever cheat or lie. Yeah,
I was grinding the tower so much because I figured that the Factory was basically going to be RNG and impossible that I ended up actually doing better by getting to I think it's 42 wins in the Factory because it's 2 sets of so it's 2 sets of 3 rounds to get to the gold. And that, to me, ended up being a cakewalk because I spent, like, the previous weeks grinding specifically the tower before being like, I can't lose my streak here. So I was always in that mindset of, like, doing everything I possibly could to, keep the streak. So
yeah, playing extra safe.
Yep. I will say one other thing, though. If you're just going for the ribbons, doubles might be something you might want to look into as well.
Totally. I am I've gotten a few recommendations, I guess, for like particularly for just the ribbons is doing the Ruby Sapphire Tower instead.
That's an option too. Yeah.
Because the AI is dumber and maybe the IVs are lower. Don't quote me on that.
The sets there's also way less
intricate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. There are a few Pokemon, I guess, in Ruby Sapphire Tower that rely on like double team and stuff like that. But I am trying to get the gold symbol in Emerald. It's the final gold symbol I need. for the tower. So I'm trying to, two birds, one stone it, but it's not. So far no luck. But it will. It's to me. I think it's a matter of time with my guys. I feel very. I believe in my guys. It's just the tower is bullshit. I don't know.
Yeah.
Eventually the stars will align.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The thing is, if you lose due to BS, at some point it's going to just go in your favor, because if the AI had to result to that BS to win against you,
right,
it ultimately was not your fault. It was just
Exactly.
because you have to keep the streak going as long as possible.
Exactly. So I have hope. I have hope and I have faith.
Hey, what have you been doing in the wonderful world of, I guess of anything. I don't know,
All right.
Pokemon games.
So,
where you been?
I'll start with Pokemon, right? So, my friend, I always mess up his screen name, Mechtivol. His name is Zach. He's my childhood friend. I've known him for a while. We've been playing Emerald.
Great
We've
name.
also been playing Emerald.
Nice.
And what we've been doing is, after certain benchmarks, we've actually been battling. When we first started the game, I think we got to level 15. We just brought 3 Pokemon. We battled. Then we went to 25, 35, 45 for the Elite Four. And now we've jumped up to 65. And the thing is throughout that, throughout the time, the rules have kind of been evolving a little bit to be you can bring 3 Pokemon, you can bring 4 Pokemon, now you can bring your whole team.
It's really cool.
And now, since this is the first post-game battle, what we're doing is we're allowed to use the Regis. You can use the Savari Zone Pokemon, and other than that, it's just the Pokemon that you can get Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald in the Dex. That's the...
Ooh.
Yeah, so
Cool.
I'm training for that.
This is very sophisticated.
Yeah, yep. And in Fire Red, because I also play Fire Red, I have the ridiculous goal of trying to beat the Elite Four rematches with all 151 Kanto Pokemon. Yeah.
That's
My first... I'm only on the first team. And the first team was a Smash-themed team where I used Pikachu, Jigglypuff, Squirtle, Ivysaur, Charizard, and Mewtwo.
really cool.
Yeah, Mewtwo
That is awesome.
did a little bit less work than I thought, because I intentionally did not train it, other than I leveled it up a little bit, because that was just what was on my save.
But Jigglypuff went crazy, is what you're about to say, right?
Jigglypuff was... I couldn't even get it to a point where Jigglypuff... And granted, I'm not training everything to level 100. I'm
Sure.
keeping things around the same level for balance purposes.
Yeah.
I couldn't get Jigglypuff to do one good thing, other than maybe I got one sing out, and that was it. Pikachu went hard, because I had the light ball. So Pikachu went hard. Yeah. And
Okay, he's cooking.
Ivysaur actually did a lot of damage to both Bruno and Lorelei. Lorelei is just because, a lot of the ice types, of course, are also split water. Also, I have this recorded, actually. I recorded this whole playthrough. Ivysaur beat a +2 Dragon Dance Kingdra and its Hyper Beam.
Wow.
And I used Solar Beam on it, so basically it got me down to less, I think, overgrowth range. And then the second turn when Solar Beam came out, I just completely demolished it. So that was wild, because I think I don't even think I had my Mewtwo at the Lance fight at that point. So, but of course, it's been slow going. My next team is going to be a cybersecurity themed team where I'm using a Porygon that I got from someone that I traded at Long Island Retro last year. I'm using an Ekans, or not Ekans. I'm using an Arbok just named Python. I think I'm using Magnemite. I'm using Magnemite, and its name is its Pokedex number in hexadecimal instead of decimal. And then I'm trying to train a Dragonair named Callie, and I don't remember and just a Pinsir I think just named Bug or something, I don't know, Code Bug. So
that one's really on the
Pinsir
nose.
Bug, but on the cybersecurity team is actually
yeah.
Yeah, now you're cooking.
huge brain.
There was also and then I was going to use a Persian. A Persian named Mimikatz. So that's it's a Kerber. I think it's a Kerber roasting tool. It's been a while since I've looked into what that was, even though I majored in it in cybersecurity.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could have fooled me.
Anyways,
I love the theme teams.
Yeah, I really want to rock those
Yeah.
as much as possible until I get to the teams that are like, oh, I got to use Caterpie, Weedle, a Venonat. Throw Moltres in there.
Yeah.
And then, because that's eventually what's going to have to happen.
Yeah.
Because I'm also making, like, it's basically like once I've used them once and cleared the game, they're done. Like, I'm not going to use them again. So
Right.
It's going to be rough going when I finally get to, like, some, like the Magikarps, I think Diglett might actually do some work.
Are you playing? Are you
Yeah.
playing through the whole game with these teams, or are you just doing the E4 with these teams?
I'm doing the E4 rematches. So
Right, okay.
basically, I'm not really I can't really
Goodness
do gym leader
gracious.
rematches.
Yeah.
But, so I have to sit there and EV train them if they're like lower, like not fully evolved, and then of course I have to actually sit there and go to, I think it's like 7 Island where that one trainer is where you can rematch with Chansey.
Yep.
So it's been, and that's why I'm only on the first team because
Yeah,
it's been some work.
Takes a minute. Damn,
Yep.
dude.
And
Good
outside
luck.
of, thanks.
I love Pokemon players so much. It's such a fun extracurricular that you came up with all on your own. Like it's life affirming. Almost a crazy thing to say, but like I don't know, like when you make the game is so special to me. I think that's so cool.
Right, exactly. And I mean that's part of the allure I think of the game series as a whole. It allows a lot of, player expression and customization and like self goal setting, you know what I mean? Because some people they're just like they'll sit there and they'll shiny hunt and they'll just like sit there and basically do the equivalent of gambling without actually spending money. In my opinion, coming from Counter-Strike, it's just sometimes things look a little bit too much like gambling. Yeah.
Fair enough.
And then, of course, as I mentioned before, though, I'm also Counter-Strike player, and I've been playing some of Counter-Strike 2 recently with the latest maps that dropped, because they dropped one of my favorite maps that, it was a community map back all the way in 2013. It's called Agency, and it's a hostage map, and I really like that map, and they really, like the people that made it in the community did a really good job at it, and really hoping it just stays permanently in the game. I'm also trying to learn Tetris the Grandmaster right now.
Okay.
That is, yeah.
Cool.
Y'all ever
Okay,
hear
that's
about that
awesome.
series?
No.
Oh man, that's a whole rabbit hole. It's basically, it's really hard to explain in a sentence, but basically, the best way to describe it is Sega made a Tetris game that was going against the standard Tetris rules back in the 90s. And then, actually, I think it was the 80s. And then when the 90s came around, someone saw that because that version of Tetris was really popular in arcades in Japan. And this guy saw it and he's like, oh, I want to make it hard. Because the thing was the game itself, that Sega Tetris, wasn't hard. So then he basically made his own version that he wanted to show on Japanese television shows, like game shows and all that. And it was called the Grand Master. And basically, it had ridiculous difficulty. I think at certain levels, it starts to get to instant gravity, like right away. Or basically, it's called 20G. It's full gravity. And then later on in the series, they introduced something called like lock delay to make it harder, because when you place a piece, it'll lock faster than it normally should. The whole point is that Tetris the Grandmaster is a series that, and it has because it isn't standard, it has its own rotation system, separate from like your standard Tetris, like on Tetris 99 or like Tetris Forever or something. It's extremely hard, and I only just cleared the normal mode like a week ago. The newest game in the series, it's been 20 years since the last game and the newest game in the series, because basically it got abandoned for a while, and then the original developer was like, oh, there's an audience for this. So instead of putting it exclusively in Japanese arcades, they released it worldwide on Steam. So
Cool.
yeah.
Yay.
So that's what I got going on
Cool.
right now.
Wow.
And the next mode is just, I think it's just a harder difficulty where you can kind of like rewind your pieces in case you make a mistake. But apparently if you rewind, you get a worse score. So it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, why would I use it if the whole point is to not use it? So, yeah, that's what I got going on, though.
Okay. And Droomish, how about you? What you been up to?
I'm so glad you asked. I have some really good deep cuts
Okay,
this
sick.
week. I've been really excited to share with you. I'm not going to be super long-winded. I met a guy, he was in my friend group at this club that I was at, and we just started chatting, and and like we were getting to know each other, and he's like playing Alpha Sapphire right now, and so it's like, wow, what a great moment that we just had like in the wild. And I'm like please street pass with me, please. I need to street pass. I take my, and I showed him, I had it in my bag. I have a little Wii shoulder bag. I think it's supposed to carry your Wii, but I like use it as my little satchel. And I like brought it out, and I was like, I have it with me, I bring it everywhere, please, like let's play Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire together and fill up each other's Street Pass Plaza. It was just, and like, I guess ambivalently, like, about where we are today is like, I love Street Pass. I think Street Pass is the coolest thing.
Oh man.
And
Big time.
I should have done better when I was in college. I don't think I would have gotten that many hits, but I've like taken my 3DS with me pretty much everywhere I go now. It's one of the main reasons I have a bag. There's the only things that are in there is wallet and DS, so that I can
That's a good combo.
not have to worry about like my pockets. But I don't think I've gotten a hit in town, and this was like my first big get on that, and I think I'm hanging out with him pretty soon. Pretty excited. And then in my like, I don't know, just extended exploration of like weird Pokemon shit, my friend, I know you told me you had a similar experience, but I've just been infatuated with them. My friend showed me Jane Remover because of their frequent Palkia samples in their songs, and I'm already on a big hyperpop kick right now, and like their music is crazy, and then there's like Pokemon in there, and I've been having so much fun with that. Like, I don't know, it's like sort of like a homecoming experience, because it's like something that I love so much is like clearly in this music, but also like it's just like good music that I'm enjoying as an adult that I don't think I would have enjoyed, like, I guess when I was originally infatuated with Palkia, because everybody said that Dialga was better, even though that's not true. Okay, Noah in 4th grade, that's not like, Dialga's not better. All right, too many people got up in my face about how it's like, oh, Pearl is the game for girls and Palkia isn't even good. It's just, it's not true.
Pearl was pink.
It's not true. And Dialga has several weaknesses that Palkia can't even fathom. So
I guess Palkia.
What now, Noah from
Palkia
4th grade?
Winning.
Yeah.
Hey, Wood, are you up on this song by Jane Remover?
I'm not.
No?
This is not familiar territory for me, not at all.
We're gonna send it to you after this recording.
Okay,
It's
all right.
it's wicked.
They have a really good Palkia sample in this hyperpop song. Oh, it's killer. But yeah, I don't know. I'm doing the rounds. I would be playing Emerald if the battle tower didn't suck. So enjoy the tower. Enjoy the tower, chumps.
I will.
I've definitely had the most enjoyment I possibly can in one lifetime with that. So I'm with you, you know.
But never again, huh?
I think that if I were to, I don't know, like it's weird because, and this is like strangely on topic, but if I were to get a whole bunch of record mixes where people start to actually show up in the tower with like custom phrases and all that, I probably totally would do it again just to see that again, because oh,
I'm so glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I do want to loop back though, because I got an amazing Street Pass story. There's a festival that it's about like an hour and a half away from me. It's in like a town called Wyoming. A town called Wyoming in New York. But anyways, every year I go, I always get one Street Pass tag from the same guy named Chris, and it's happened like 3 years in a row. I don't know who this person is. It's just a random Street Pass, post COVID, where it's just like I don't know. I would imagine that he has the same reaction I have, where it's just like, hey, it's that guy again. That's cool, awesome. So it's just really weird. It's always in that town too.
This is like
he's always at this festival.
This is like an annual thing.
It's like
it's an annual. I think it's it's an art festival where basically it's
like a comfort.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's like, oh, there's my Street Pass.
Yeah,
guy.
Absolutely. Chris gets his
still
yearly
around.
Street Pass from A-Wood and goes, oh, it's that A-Wood guy. You're having the same experience, but you've never met.
Chris is still here.
Yeah.
Wow, what a human moment. I love
more than
that.
anything, I want the Switch 2 to have Street Pass, man.
They could have baked it into the Joy-Con, I think. That would have been so cool.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
that's
a great
a good
idea.
idea. That's just a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got me. I was about ready to be negative again, but that's a good idea. That's just a fun idea. Good job. Okay,
Speaking
folks, it's yeah, it's happening. It's happening now. I think there's kind of like two veins. So actually, in the topic of in-person multiplayer that we originally reasoned to, of like, I mean like the main one is like, I don't know, like trading, battling. These are your main classes, right? Like this is the main curriculum. Yeah. This is the thing that Pokemon started on.
The DNA is there, that's what it originally
exactly
had, built on from there.
Exactly. And I think it is very interesting, even like holistically, to like before Pokemon even existed, of the idea of it being built on the trading. And I think that is very special. I'm just gonna, it's special. I guess I could write a wordscape about that, but like that's already the DNA, like you said, for something really, really beautiful. But at a certain point, and it happened relatively quickly. We're gonna have to find it, because I can't just know everything off the top of my head. They got into like these like extracurriculars, more like exploratory experiences, and like I would consider the Meadow Rally, like that type of thing, is more like your like exploration, like we're we've got like a social platform essentially, and we've got the basics of it, and now we're kind of seeing what they can do. So that is my favorite part whenever they do something like that. I do have a lot of good memories, like with like trading, especially over like a link cable. That feels really, really good. Especially, it's like I very fondly remember getting Steelix. I don't know if y'all had a Pokemon like that, but like when I finally convinced my friend to give me his metal coat, like it was like a little field day at Droomish, 4th grade Droomish's house.
Suddenly Noah from 4th grade's not
like
so bad.
I get to use Steelix. Well, okay, Noah did not help. Noah was a little. Noah was always bragging. Okay,
I didn't.
You're making me go off on a tangent. Noah was always bragging. He's always bragging about how he beat like Diamond or Pearl or whatever game in like only like 12, 13, 14 hours. And I was like, great. Like I have a Pikachu. Like I have Rhyperior.
I bet
How
you don't
about
have
that?
a Rhyperior.
Like
Noah.
and
more like know it all.
so kind of, yeah. Okay, and I guess the kind of like maybe the first big question is like, with the like the trading and the battling, like is that I don't know. I mean, I think with battling it's kind of a different question,
Yeah.
but like, trading, because
Yeah.
it's the first thing, but it's like, is this well incentivized? Like even when it was completely physical, like of course I appreciate now that it's like I can just get my DSs out and like send guys back and forth, but like in the rare moment that I got to actually like, because this same friend who gave me the Steelix, it was his link cable, and I was like salivating. It's like, we get to use the link cable. I get to use the link cable.
The fabled device.
Like, it was very, very special, and I think I would like to posit that it was like, I don't know. I think it was really well incentivized, like regardless of like, because like something can be a gimmick. Like you can have a gimmick and then you can totally fumble on that gimmick. And I think that was one of Pokemon's like original like maybe onuses, was to make the gimmick of a multiplayer RPG in this vein stand on its own, not gimmicky. And clearly they succeeded at that, but like that's my like first thought about this is like trading. Is this fun? Like is there almost like a strange value that I need my friends to get Alakazam even in Gen 1?
I want to say that, in a lot of cases, I think that it does add a lot to the experience, and it adds a lot in two ways. I mean, one, by having that trade, initiated, that's sort of like first of all, I mean, we're talking like raw value, where it's like, oh, well, I don't really have like a one-to-one trade for this person's Kadabra, but like, hey, I got a Graveler, so if they don't have a Golem, like we help each other out. But also, I mean, I think that there's a very personalized element to it where you may not see like a direct reason to trade someone unless it's something where you can't. I remember being a kid. I had a friend who like I went over to her house, and I could not for the life of me. We both had Emerald. I for the life of me could catch Gligar in the Safari Zone. I couldn't do it. I had a Blastoise because I was the kid that had like I had Fire Red, I had Coliseum, so people were always like hitting me up for like the Johto starters and the Kanto starters. So I had a Blastoise, and I'm like, hey, like, I know you like Ninja Turtles and Turtles because you talked to my sister about that time to time. I got a Blastoise, you got a Gligar, let's trade. And that's something I remember to this day, even though that Gligar is long gone. It got corrupted on my original save of Coliseum with my memory card, but I think that just alone incentivizing that trade, I mean, you keep snippets of things that people had used, and I mean to this day, whenever I go to events or whenever I meet people, I try to trade them. I went to my college.
That is wonderful.
Yeah,
that is lovely.
It's just for me, we do I mean, one of the things that we did over at one of the events that I did for my college club was, well, I think we're like some of the few people in existence that have ever used Pokemon Home's like trade box, where basically what you do is you can put 20 people into a lobby, and it's basically like a wonder trade between 20 people, like localized essentially. And I remember I traded a lot of shinies that I had that day that I caught legitimately. I'm not one that really shiny hunts, so when I come across a shiny, it's like, I'll catch it, I'll give it to someone who wants it. But, I mean, that day, it's a bunch of stuff I just trained and all that. But, I mean, and it was such a, we're talking about the DNA, right, back to Gen 1. It was a conscious decision for the devs to allow you, I think there was something along the lines of they had to choose between some other feature and allocating the space on the cart for all of your Pokemon to have nicknames. And they went with the nicknames because they were like, well, this is a cool personalization thing. Because when you get a nicknamed Pokemon, it's someone else's. So it goes beyond just, the raw benefits, which is like, yeah, you get an EXP boost. Okay. Or like maybe you get something that isn't in your game. But having that ability to be like, yep, this is just something that someone had used before. This is amazing to have, I'll treasure it. And what I was going to say, before I actually cut myself off, was that recently, it was back in like March, my college does or the college I went to, they do a convention called Toricon. And one of the things that they had there was like a 3DS meetup where people came in and they just played a whole bunch of 3DS games. And I was actually...
Cool.
Yeah, it was amazing because
so cool.
we had a lot of Pokemon players, like a decent amount. I traded someone who was a freshman at the college. I traded a Spheal for like one of their low-level Pokemon in Alola, just because I wasn't necessarily, like, I wasn't using that anymore because it was just a breed reject from my Gen 7 game. And then I traded someone in Gen 6 I think it was a shiny... Oh, man. A shiny Noibat, I think I traded them for just whatever, just because just like, here you go. Like, I'm not using this. Go ahead and use this. But... just to like loop back to that, I think it's really cool because being able to collect Pokemon that, other people were using, and like maybe it's like other people were training, and they just don't use them anymore. I just think that's really cool to like have on your team or just like have to battle. So that to me has always been kind of the most important element of trading. And whenever even when I went to Long Island Retro last year, I asked people because I actually grew a whole bunch of Starf berries and I put them onto all of my Pokemon so I could like spread around Starf berries. And
what a guy! Wow, that's really nice of you.
I basically ask people though, like, I'm not looking for things that are like overpowered or anything. I'm looking for like either like maybe your favorite Pokemon or a Pokemon on your team that you're not using anymore. I got some pretty cool trades. Like I got like a level 60 Primeape that someone used the entire Fire Red. game, and I traded them my Regice for that.
Oh.
So that was a Pokemon like you can't even get in Fire Red. And then I traded away a Johto starter, and because it was a Starf Berry, someone traded me a shiny
Wow.
Wailord, which I then used to go against
Wow.
my friend for a level 45 battle. So, I mean, once again, it's just there's so much allure with that, and trading even the items, even the berries, just spreading those around. My hope was that people would then take the berries and then grow them, and then also start trading them around to other people, and basically just spread the Starf berries because they're just so hard to get in Gen 3.
Yeah, man. I know it.
Yeah,
That's so cool that you're experiencing Gen 3 in like current day, you're like going out of your way to make that happen at a time where it's like harder and harder to make that happen. But like, do you think that like, because you're making events happen yourself, you're obviously going to events, do you feel like there's an uptick in people participating now?
it's really hard to say because unfortunately I don't really have a good metric of what was happening. Let's say like even something like pre-COVID, before the price of the games like just completely went up in price, and I unfortunately that was the time where I was like really deep into Counter-Strike, where it was like I'd be playing every night with a team, so I didn't really have a whole lot of time for Pokemon up until I kind of like dropped that whole. Once I turned like 20 or 21, I was kind of just like, yeah, I probably shouldn't be trying to go for competitive Counter-Strike anymore. I should probably like, go for like an actual career for something. And
it's a game for babies, unlike Pokemon.
Pokemon's a man's game. Anyways, so yeah, I don't really have a good metric, but what I think that there's a lot of people out there that unfortunately they'll buy the game, and this is what I see all the time because I talk to a lot of like retro game shop owners in my area, just because like they're usually people that are very interested in just gaming in general, and I always ask them, I'm like, who's coming in to buy these? Because the thing is, I'm always in and I'm always asking like, people that are like looking at the Pokemon games. I'm like, oh hey, do you play Gen 3 at all? Do you play like any of the older gens? Not to like pester people while they're shopping, but like I just
you're just curious. That's fine.
Start conversation with that. Yeah,
it's awesome.
Yeah, and the thing is
yeah, like do you have a link cable by the way?
Wireless adapter. Did you bring me one?
So, but it's very interesting because they'll commonly post like their hauls that they get from like Facebook Marketplace, or like if they get a lead on something, like these places will post their hauls, and within like 5 days, if they post something like Pokemon Emerald, it's just gone. So it leaves it like there's clearly people buying the games, but what I don't get is, are they just like collecting? Are they investing? Are they just playing up to the Elite Four and stopping? Because I don't know. I don't know if there's necessarily an uptick, but the thing is, right now, my goal is the fact that if I'm consistent and I keep on going to the conventions that I'm going to, and I keep on volunteering and having events, eventually we are going to build that momentum, and eventually it will be a thing where, maybe people decide like, oh, hey, I see how they did this, we're going to go ahead and I'll try to go to a convention that they don't go to, and maybe I'll volunteer, and maybe the convention people will let me do something like a Gen 3 like shiny hunt event, or like maybe we'll do contests and all that. Yeah, and it's it's hard I think especially it's hard in the United States, because while these things are designed for ultimately like you can do these things anywhere, but it always seemed like Japan always had a higher density of players in a given area, where I mean even to this day they do Gen 3 events. There was recently one, I don't know how recent it was, if it was like a couple years ago, or if it was just last year. They like do contests and all that. They have like a meta for it, where basically instead of giving your Pokemon Pokeblocks, you just don't give them anything. That way everyone's always on the equal footing without having to do training and all that. And like there's a meta called Ore Coliseum, which is basically just Gen 3 VGC. That specifically is a event that they do in Japan because it started off as people showing off their shiny RNG Minips. So eventually, it kind of I have to credit Mosquito. He's the admin over for the Ore Coliseum Discord, and he's also like one of the big. If you go to like a like a North America International Cup, or he was even in. He was at the EUIC. He helps host like their Gen 3
Cool.
Ori Coliseum side events. So he's super.
Yeah, that's cool.
He's super
So
into the battling aspect. And,
even
that
like
Gen
the
3 stuff.
official events, like regionals and the international championships and even worlds, will have side events for like retro stuff. Cool.
Yep. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, they have the one that I keep hearing about, is probably just because of my proximity, is it like, I mean, they're just about to have one, I guess, maybe depending on when this comes out, I'll be wrong about the time frame, but like at NAIC they're doing, it's called the Retro Shiny Challenge or something, and like that always seems really cool. They had to change the name because like the forbidden numbers were being mentioned, but now like they have the Retro Shiny Challenge, and you're supposed to bring something that is like Gen 5 or prior. I think,
But like a
you can
game
do
with,
whatever
like,
you
8,
want,
1,
I think,
2
but
odds?
like everybody gets their Game Boys.
Yeah. The forbidden number.
Yes, that's
Sorry,
the-
whoa, hey,
Watch yourself.
whoa.
Watch yourself
Leave me
when you
alone,
mention
big
that number.
Pikachu.
But and now it's like, it's amazing to me because it's this, but it also isn't. But I feel like it's so in the spirit of it, because it's like, I mean, in like the playing on XD is so cool. Like, it's, I don't know, because you get this like that kind of like theater experience. But this is so impressive to me because they just shiny hunt for like an hour. There is no connection happening. They just run it all as a group, and then everybody posts about like, the group found 2 shinies as a group, and it's like I don't know. There's something that is almost like ascendant to me that is happening here. Like, even though it's like, I don't know, I often wonder to myself, I was like, do I get shiny hunting? Like, do I even know? But it's like, I know that this is a good thing. Like, at its core, like these people coming together and like celebrating this game and this function of this game in this way. Like, I know in my heart of hearts that has to be a good thing, just because like of like community and the bonded experience that you can have within it. But yes, the answer to your question is yes, and it's really, really cool. They have like, and they're always by community people too. Like, Pokemon doesn't put this stuff on. Like, they usually get like, because the retro shiny people, they were approached. I think that's Nora in the Future and Quick Panic, I believe, is and they got like official attention once they changed the name, and so they were like promoted and stuff.
Yeah, that's so sick. So Awood, when you host an event yourself, or even if you're going to someone else's at some con or fest or whatever, are there any, like, other than battling, are there any like extracurriculars in any of the generations that you look forward to?
Oh man, I love record mixing so much. The reason being is
awesome.
In Gen 3, of course. Okay, so I do have to split this up. Gen 4, in my opinion, it's a little bit underwhelming. Some of the things got cut for other.
Hello.
But that's
Underground. Anyone?
Well, Underground's great, but that's not necessarily where the secret bases in the record mixing goes into play. Like, Gen 3, I love, because you can record mix someone, and you don't. The thing is, you get a good mix of their bases too, of people that they've also record mixed with. So, I remember last year when I went to Long Island Retro, I got like a mono bug team that was all level 50 to go against in a secret base, which was really cool. I had someone else had a base that was 6 Latios that all knew Memento at level 100. And the whole point is that they KO themselves, and they give you 4,500 EXP.
And
you just do that every day.
3 special attack EVs per Latios, right? So yeah, that would be huge.
Yeah, it would be, yeah. So, yep. So
no, I'm thinking, because like I built myself like a Blissey base in my own Emerald for like both XP and also consequently HP EVs, but because secret bases are excellent for that.
Yeah. The caveat is that you have to have, your team built it first when you go and record mix, because that's kind of where it pulls from. And, so some bases were always just like, oh, it's just my in-game team, because, like, I just brought this along with me, and I'm not necessarily far in it. But, for me, it was just like, all right, I got to pull out my, I had a level 50 team at the time. because I was actually getting ready specifically for this event, just to have that. And I remember I trained like a level
Nice.
50 Wooper up, and I also actually wait, I don't actually remember the timeline. No, the timeline definitely was like I had that or did I? Oh wow, I don't think I had the level 50 Wooper at
Okay,
that
so
time.
you're a liar.
My apologies. I am a liar. Yes, I lied.
Something's not adding up.
Because I wouldn't have been able to have the Wooper unless I completed the game, and I don't think I had actually completed the game yet at that point.
It's all
So,
coming out.
yeah,
in the
on that
wash,
save
isn't it,
anyways.
Haywood?
Yep. Oh yeah, you caught me. But anyways, so I had a lot of it was before I beat the game too, because I remember I wanted to see if the Pokemon level for that level 50 bug team would actually go up after I beat the Elite Four, and it didn't. It was just because someone actually just had like a level 50 bug team at the time. But I had all my other bases that I had. Like I remember I had my one base from when I was a kid, because I actually somehow
incredible.
kept that save alive through record mixing with other
Yeah.
cartridges.
Oh,
And it was
wow.
like I had okay, so I remember it specifically because I really liked Coliseum. So I had a level 100 Espeon, a level 100 Umbreon. I had the Ho-Oh from that game, and I think I had like a Scizor that I got from Fire Red, and then there was I don't remember what else. I think I had like Kyogre or something, because it was my copy of Sapphire was that game, and then my level 100 Sceptile,
Nice.
which I still have to this
Oh,
day.
that's sick. And that's so cool that you're able to like
Yeah.
keep that secret base and that team alive all these years later.
Yeah, I favored it. You can basically like mark bases as favorites.
yeah,
and
absolutely.
I favorited that base so it doesn't go away.
That's so sick.
Yeah.
This is not something I had previously appreciated about Secret. I think they're cool, and I've always thought they're cool, but I did not appreciate how you could keep the memories alive
Yep.
of
Yeah,
prior
the,
save
like, diary
files. That's
aspect of
extremely
it.
cool. Get a generational run going.
Because I did the
Exactly,
playthrough
yeah.
as you, Droomish, and then I have you and your team in my game like forever now, and that's so sick. And
And really,
so one other
I
really
think so.
cool aspect of record mixing is that you can go to watch TV in the Hoenn region, and you'll see basically TV shows that will give you like either stats or some sort of story about someone that you've mixed records with, and that's like one of the coolest like asynchronous multiplayer features that they've ever done.
it truly put the record in record mixing, because a lot of them were always like, oh yeah, we saw this trainer go to the Pokemart and buy like
Yeah.
30 Great Balls. I have a good story about that, but it's
Okay,
actually a
but
very
please.
somber story though, because back in my like the first
wow.
2 years of my degree, I had a friend named Roni, and he was like one of the only other people at my Pokemon club, where I wasn't an admin at the time. I was just attending, but he was the only one that was really like really interested in the retro games. So like we would play Gen 3 together, and like he helped me complete my decks on my 100% like Emerald save, where I got the gold card on it, and like he just like walked over to where I was, because I was a student employee at the time as well. He like walked over to where I was working, and like I asked him like the other like the day before on Discord, I'm like, hey, can you like, I know you've got Ruby, can you help me out by getting a Zangoose and I think it was Zangoose was the one I needed, and I don't remember if I needed Surskit or not, but he helped me out with that, and I was able to actually complete my decks. But the somberness comes in because it was sometime the next semester. I remember because it was like right before Pokemon Legends Arceus released. He actually passed
man.
away in his sleep, and for the longest time,
Damn.
it was just one of those freak things with like a ongoing health issue. Oh man, but like
Yeah.
I record mixed him, right, and so sometimes I forgot all about that until a couple of months later. I went back to like the TVs in that game, and because that was that was really the because at that point what I was trying to do that summer was I was trying to do the Pokemon Coliseum battle mode stuff, because I hadn't completed that, like the various Coliseums in that. I went to, when I was training, I like went over to a TV and I just saw like, oh yeah, we interviewed this trainer Roni, and I was like, oh man. But once again, I don't think he had a secret base. I never could find it if he did. That would have been another favorited one, but and once again, it's really somber. But at the same time, it was like, man, that was still like, like really cool that like that.
Yeah,
they did that.
It is a great
Yeah.
like avenue, I guess, for like memories and yeah, for like diary keeping. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that, but I
Yeah, I debated on whether or not I would actually share it. I didn't want to like bring the mood of the whole our whole
it's all
talk just
good.
completely down, but
Yeah.
But no, it's important. Like,
yeah. And that was the thing, it was something where it was, man, and he had good records too. I mean, we're talking about like he also completed the game, so it's like
really good records
yeah,
also.
so
That's
it
awesome.
was nice to remember him to be like, oh, yep, he did more than just beat the Elite Four. He went
Yeah, and
through
it's
the
cool
game.
that like via record mixing you're able to like have these memories of this person that you had this shared interest with. Yeah. No, that's really cool.
Yeah. One of the
Yeah.
One of the things I never found out was whether or not he also had Battle Frontier records, because that's actually why I want to record mix now and why I was doing so much of it last year. When you record mix, there's also a separate Battle Tower team that gets saved based off of your previous streak. And you can actually just like start collecting trainers based off of their previous streak in there. It's wild because with my first save, when I actually completed the tower once and for all, there's got to be some people out there that after they defeat Annabelle, they go to the next round just to see what's up, and they see my trainer with like the most ridiculous phrase.
Right.
Because you can also set the phrase. I love the easy chat system so much, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
It's like the easy. Yeah, it's easy chat system, right? Where you can like select the phrases. Oh man,
That's pretty awesome.
That was my current one right now is something about, because I was using Whooper, and then that's when I started to record mix back in like October. And I remember that it was something like, we will win with Whooper's serene grace. Or something like that. I just had a level 50 Whooper leading.
That's unreal. So
yeah. I hope someone out there gets to see that.
they got to get through Annabelle
it's
first,
just-
but
yeah.
then you're the true final boss.
On this save, it's not with Annabelle. On this save, I think it's only like
Okay.
3 rounds in. Because, of course, I'm using a Whooper. There's no way I'm getting
Never say
Annabelle with
never.
Whooper.
So I experienced that for the first time very recently, actually, where I mixed records with a friend, and they, sure enough, show up every single time at Battle 34, and they have their team, including a shiny Porygon 2. And luckily, like, because it's like the same team over and over, I know what the moves on the team are, and so I know how to like deal with it. But it's interesting because they have that shiny Porygon 2 that shows up in the battle tower, but I also have their secret base in my team, and they have that Porygon 2 in the secret base, but the Porygon is not shiny in the secret base. So it's like that data is like stored differently or separately or something between like the team data for a secret base versus the battle tower data. So that's something that I discovered recently. But yeah, that's not something that I like knew about record mixing beforehand. And so now there is this like, again, I know how to deal with his team, but he's got a Latias and a Metagross and a Porygon 2 guaranteed at Battle 34. It's almost like a soft like silver symbol fight or something.
Yeah, I really like.
To me, that reminds me of the e-reader cards that they had, where in Japan they released the second set, because we only ever got the first set here. But the second set actually had a couple of trainers that had like shiny Pokemon, and you could just always like go against them.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
The first set was very underwhelming. I have it, and it's just like,
They're okay.
Oh man,
You have them all?
I do have them all. Yes, I don't have the promos.
Wow, I have like 3 of them, but that's really cool.
Yeah, it's and it's really, I think that what's really cool too is the fact that if you scan in the level 50 or level 100 ones, they'll also show up in the battle tower as well. So it's kind of like a pseudo record mixing in a way, where if you scan those ones specifically, they show up. But I really like that feature as well, because I have a core memory of always having to go against my sister in the battle tower at around like, I think it was like round like 17 or 18. It was very early on. and she used an Azumarill, a Registeel, and a... Oh, what was her third Pokemon? I mean, there was a reason she only got like 18. I think she was only using like her in-game team, Blaziken. Yeah, so I remember that, and it just, for me, it's very cool to also think about potentially collecting all of those, and they really did, like, unfortunately, that's like my favorite thing about the Battle Tower, and they just completely dropped it going forward, but they did the Wi-Fi Tower in Gen 4. I always thought that the Wi-Fi Tower would be really cool to do, because you can actually still do it today with the Poke Classic Network. You can just still connect to it. It would be really cool if you just got a whole bunch of people and you specified a number 1 through 50 of which tower you're going to do, and just everyone always battle in that tower. That would just be so cool, just to see people that, you know, it's like, oh, hey, that person had talked about their team before. Awesome. I've gone against it. And, you know, just familiarity and all that. It's weird, too, because I remember, not to talk about, like, the more recent games in depth, but I think that's what they tried to do with the Diamond and Pearl remakes, because they did the Masterclass Battle Tower, which was basically set teams that were, like, really good. And I think they were trying to, like, mimic that in a way. But I don't know, it fell flat, because it was just like...
It is cool.
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
I totally think it is cool to have that, but they specifically got rid of... like, and that's okay, like, especially for, like, the normal tower, like, the normal challenge. That was really cool. But once you get over to the Master Class, it's like... I would have preferred the Wi-Fi tower if there was an option to have that.
And that actually would have...
Especially with BDSP hidden ability, like, the meta of that.
That's a good point.
That would have been really sweet.
Yeah. I mean, it's so connected. I mean, it is easier. Like, obviously, it's easier. That's like the one issue. I mean, it's like the limitation. It's not necessarily an issue, but like it does. It perplexes me, I guess, that it's like, oh, well, it's so connective now, and it's like there were so many jumps that they were able to make in Gen 4. But it's like, oh, like the GTS, it's like, you never have to worry again about the Pokédex issue. Like, you really, you don't need the widely touted phrase of like, oh, like they expect you to buy both of them. Is like, well, it's like, no, there's just hop on the GTS. It's so easy.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Whenever they like don't like with that, it's like, I don't know. It's like, why? Like I don't know. I am looking to understand, because it's the DNA, and then it's like, oh, but it's so easy. It's so easy. It could just be like the Wi-Fi tower. Like, we could be having so much fun, and it would be online, and I wouldn't need any of this stuff. Oh, that's so what a great idea. But I don't know. I the endless mystery. Why do they do what they do?
Yeah,
sometimes.
It's just, I think when things evolve over time, sometimes I think it's hard to forget what really, I don't know. Like, there are some things that work really well, and there's some things that are niche and don't necessarily work out too great. One of the things I wanted to mention, I don't know when I would have been able to do this before, but so we were talking earlier about like the spectacle of XD Gala Darkness having like setups where people would battle on those. That was a while ago, but one of the things that I always think of is there's a video online. And if you guys are familiar with the series, Game Center CX. You familiar with that? Shinya Arino? He's like a Japanese comedian. He just plays a whole bunch of hard games. No? All right.
No.
Okay. Well, so there's basically in Japan, there's this show called Game Center CX. And that's what this guy does. He's just a comedian. He just plays a whole bunch of games. They had a special back in 2004 where they interviewed Satoshi Tajiri, and they were talking about the recent, like it was like months ago when it released at the time, but the release of Fire Red and Leaf Green. Or maybe, I don't necessarily know the exact timeline, because I know XD was out at that time, either XD or Coliseum. The video, it's weird because the video was titled Pokemon League, like Pokemon Japan League 2004. But it's Game Center CX instead. Like, it's not like what you'd be expecting because it's a comedian. But he has footage of going to places in Japan where they just had setups of either Coliseum or XD Gal Darkness, and basically people would just wait in line to like battle people. And to me that was always interesting because it almost has like the DNA of like arcades in a way, where you would just go to an arcade and like maybe like for example you're playing like Street Fighter 2, and all of a sudden like someone just comes up next to you and you're like they're immediately you're in a versus match. And to me, like the importance
That's the dream.
the importance of the hub game, and I've been thinking about this more and more too, because the thing is there was a arcade that opened near me a couple of months ago, and they just got a they have a Nintendo 64 in there, in addition to like all of their like cabinets. To me, it's just like, wouldn't it be cool to get a whole bunch of people and do like Gen 2 stuff where you like use Stadium 2 as the hub game? And I think something like that too. That's one of the things it's kind of died out, because I mean our last like stadium-esque game was Pokemon Battle Revolution, and that one was so cool too because you could literally save your team on your Wii remote, because the Wii remote had data to like overwrite with that. You could save it on your Wii remote, and then you could bring it to other people's houses or wherever you're taking it to battle. And like the death of the hub game, I think is kind of a big thing for multiplayer stuff. But also, I think that we've also had a lot of things that have like filled in because of that. And I think that once the multiplayer protocols got better, where you didn't need to like lug around link cables, you didn't need to, now it's super easy. It's just it's not even like you just bring your Switch places. In fact, not even your Switch. You do it on your phone, especially battles soon. But it just I think that it loses a little bit of magic almost, like intentional, like intent to do a certain thing by not having that anymore. If that makes sense. But then again, I'm always sad about like the death of, because this is something that happens with like LAN centers and in-person events as a whole due to the internet and how good it is now. It's very hard to, like, say, for example, like Counter-Strike. I run my own local Counter-Strike group, but it's so hard to get people out because it's either like they'll only ever come over to our LAN center if they want to do, not like I don't own a LAN center, but like the LAN center we go to, they'll only come out if there's like a monetary prize, and like so it's a different environment these days. Yeah, that's the thing. But and to loop back to all this convention stuff, there's a massive love for the game, and that's really what brings people out. But outside of trading and battling, though, I actually have a funny story about berry crushing. So,
please.
I mentioned before how I'm trying to train all 151 Kanto Pokemon. Berry crushing is going to be a very pivotal thing because it is the best yield, like time to vitamin yield that you can possibly get in Fire Red, Leaf Green, and Emerald. Because if you crush Starf berries, even with 2 people, by the time you're done, you should be able to get, I think, like 4 vitamin items. Like, the yield is astronomical. And it only takes, like, maybe, like, 30 seconds to do one round of berry crushing.
Like, has only really played, like, Scarlet and Violet and, like, dabbled in, like, EV training using vitamins in the newer games, they're probably, like, 4 vitamins? That's it? But, like, for Gen 3, that's money.
Well, actually, it's
pretty big money.
No, even for Gen 9, I mean, the yield on that alone, I mean, as long as, like, the thing is, like, you have to grow berries, and then, yes, if it's Fire Red and Leaf Green, you then have to use something like Pokemon Box, or, like, you have to use, like, just, like, you have to trade over those Starf berries, you have to get them on your game somehow. The ecosystem with Fire Red and Leaf Green, as an aside, is, like, really weird, because, like, you get berries by doing Dodrio berry picking, which is another multiplayer game.
Yeah.
Or you can do Berry Forest. And then you have to go to a multiplayer game with berry crushing, because berry crushing is only multiplayer, just to get the powder. But if you can do all that, the yield is phenomenal. I haven't calculated it all out. I've been calculating the yields of, like, what you need to do to get to the point where you get to vitamin items for every Switch game at the very least. The reason why is because I have, like, over, like, 400 level 100 Pokemon that I want to train. Yeah, thanks, Pokejobs. Anyways, so I have to figure out what the best possible yield is in all of the games. Turns out it's BDSP in the Switch era. But Fire Red and Leaf Green blows it out of the water due to berry crushing. So it's something that I've always wanted to do with other people, because apparently if everyone uses a Starf berry, you can get over 18,000 berry crushing units. Or like I don't remember, like it's like the units are just like raw numbers. That's 18 vitamin items.
And is it up to 4 people can berry crush at a time?
It's strange. The wireless adapter supports up to 5
Oh,
people.
okay.
So you can do 5
right,
people.
yeah, because you can do
Yeah.
up to 5 for Dodrio.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So, yeah, but it's always like that to me has always been like a very strange, kind of like ecosystem with berries in Fire Red and Leaf Green, because they're not really at the forefront. It's not like you can grow them in that game, but you just play the mini games, you get berries, and then you grind the berries. So, yeah,
It is like very. I don't really even as like a game. I do not care for that game.
it's just
like,
pressing A.
Yeah, you mash A. I mean, it's like I don't know the functional equivalent of like blending something with your hands in real life. Like
Yeah.
that's how complicated this is. But it does like really like reassure me, and I don't know. There's like almost like a confidence placed in myself as a result of it. Of like because the ecosystem that you're describing it imparts to me that they cared.
Yeah.
And it's like that like this is a meaningful means to like let's vehicularize the social components of this game and like give people a really like a I don't know like a secondary benefit that is really meaningful in this like I mean it's like I guess untraditional means but
Yeah.
the reward is very traditional. You want those things very very much if you're even if you're just I mean it says the stats goes up. I want those items and they're really really expensive. So like I just feel like the thought is so on display of like it's so novel and it's so like there's a little circle that happens in what you're describing. Like you play the berry crushing mini game and you can go like you go to the forest and you get the respawning berries off the ground, or you play the mini game and it like all fuels itself. You have to be social or you have to like be willing to play with yourself to do it. And like that one in particular, I think there's a couple that are like this, but just like the absurdity and like the way that it all links back to you having a positive experience ultimately, like in the intended field of play, like you get your stats up in the end. Like, yeah, I want that. It just really like screams like they cared. Like I feel like it wasn't. I mean, it is like a weird school of thought, but like it's not like it doesn't feel like an attempt at getting me to get my friends to buy the game. Like it feels like I don't know, like they get the game as much as I do, and they like are like I don't know being kind almost because this is so strangely thoughtful. Like this is such if this was a paywall, this is such a strange like this is an extremely strange paywall that I need other people to make the birds pick the fruit off the trees so that I can like I can just buy that stuff like but like you get all these benefits is like oh if you play the fun game with the birds how silly could that be, and you cannot folks this bird berry picking game, the Dodrio picking game, you cannot really play by yourself. Like this is I think that is so specifically interesting like as like its own case study is that like because you need 3 hands, like you would need I don't know 5-6 hands to do this.
If you wanted
like
if you wanted to max it out, absolutely, you would need 5 different hands because it's basically the mini game itself. It plays like that like Chansey one in Stadium 2 where you just have to like like lean left, right, or straight to get the berries. Except you have to like input them in the D-pad from what I recall. I haven't played that mini game in the longest time, so I don't quite remember it to be honest with you. I think the berry crushing though, you're spot on with the fact that they're being like it's an intentional generous thing at the end of the day, because if you go through, let's say like you went through like Ruby and Sapphire, or you have a way where you get some of like the end game berries in that. And I mean Emerald had, of course Emerald has this as well. But, if you were growing, let's say, like the contest stat berries, like the good ones, like the Durin berry, the Belu berry, those berries, and you transfer them to Fire Red and Leaf Green so that you can, you can berry crush. Also, I don't necessarily assume how they, I assume that they would have, I don't think that they would assume that people would be using something like Box to transfer everything in and out like that, but maybe they would be. But there's like the reward aspect to it where they intentionally put in yields for berries that were otherwise 1% obtainable through pickup, because they're in the pickup tables for that, and it's literally 1%. but like they thought of that. The fact that you could even get the berries in that game to begin with, and sometimes a lot easier than Ruby and Sapphire.
Yeah.
Just through pickup, and being able to then, I mean, like the payout is astronomical. Like the actual yield is, I haven't been able to do it with 5 people at all. I want to at some point just to see how ridiculous the yield would be. But yeah, I mean, the vitamin items, and then that plays into the main gameplay of you can train your Pokemon better, so then you can battle with them. Like, that's phenomenal. And once again, it's one of those things where it was such a specific thing that ended up. It's so obscure.
I had never considered the end game Fire Red Leaf Green loop of you and your 4 best friends playing Dodrio berry picking and then berry crushing together, all for the sake of EV training your Pokemon. But I guess like you're both right. They like implemented these things in order to allow a group of friends to do that together. That's so cool.
Yeah, and I mean, the analog to that, of course, was the Pokeblocks in Ruby and Sapphire and Emerald, where instead you would just use them to, grind the Pokeblocks. And I don't really have, unfortunately, I don't have a lot of experience with contests. And I mentioned this before, but it kind of seems like the meta for contests, if you want to play it multiplayer, the most fair thing to do is just to not have Pokeblocks at all. Just because that way everyone can come in at an equal level without having to do that prep work. But if you're doing the single player stuff where it's like, oh, I want to have a Ribbon Master, I want to do all the contests, totally worth it. And I mean, it's wild too, because the best Pokeblock, isn't it like the worst Pokeblock you can make, where it's like you need 4 people participating to all have one of the e-reader berries that has like the lowest yield, the lowest softness, or no, it's the hardest.
Yes.
Yeah, that is.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the nut pea berry.
I think it's
The nut pea
Shout out
berry.
to Toasty Toes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep.
Exactly. Thank you, Sir Toasty Toes. But it's like a yield thing, because you have a cap, and this one Pokeblock does not raise it raises the cap a very, very tiny amount. So, I think it's somewhere in the range of like feeding them 255 just like disgusting blocks in the end. But it's like the most economic thing that you can do.
Yep.
In a weird math way, but I really like that game. I think that was one of the games that like I yearned to play with other people when I was I guess on Ruby
Contests?
growing up.
Well, not even
the
specifically
spinning
contests,
game,
just
the
Oh,
Pokeblock
okay.
spinning
Yeah.
game specifically. I wanted to make Pokeball. I thought it was such a fun, like, I don't know. I love like Rhythm Heaven, like, I don't know, anything with like timed inputs. And I knew like from, I don't know, like the talk at the playground that it's like, and just like, I don't know, based on the other context clues in the game, it's like, this is going to be better if other people play with me. It's going to be a huge mess of cables, but like, I wonder like if I could start making good Pokeblocks instead of like the level 12 ones I get by myself every time. And I still have, I guess, that it would be like one of those like drumming exercises, but maybe I could do that by myself with enough Game Boys. Like,
I think you could probably get a tempo down for
crazy.
sure.
yeah, so I don't, but yeah, they're that kind of like, I don't know, like, because it's such a function like that. The Pokeblock is a borderline analog input for the contest, and like you get to have fun in the contest. But the, like, again, it's that novelty is like will never be lost on me of like, just this is silly, and therefore it is good. Like,
Yeah.
and we can do that. We can be silly together. That's unbelievable to me. Thank you so much for thinking of that. I wouldn't have like, this would have been like, I don't know, like a candy machine that you put a quarter into if I was making this game, because that's just like, oh, they need food, they need pet snacks, they need their little snacks to go to the contest hall. So like, and this is, I guess, essentially an unrelated tangent, but like the way that they like almost like box up and compartmentalize like what would just be processes in other games, but like completely what's the word? They're like there's transactional processes, like you just buy something in a different RPG, and it's like, now it's silly. It's like and I'm not saying they don't do that anymore. Like I think that's like the continuing lifeblood of Pokemon, but it's like that is the reassurance for me that it's like, this is the game that I like, and it is still good no matter how old I get. If they can find a way for me to be silly on the way to the store, and even better, if that somehow involves my friends, like optionally, it's like you've still got it. Like you still know what you're doing, and that is like a standout to me because it's so transactional. You just need the food to play the actual fun game, and it's a game. It's like a big game of skill, and you can make it easier or harder with friends, and because I always imagined as well as like, oh, like we can make some really good Pokeblocks if we did this together. But what if my friends were bad at this game? Like, because I'm bad at this game, and they could really bail me out of this situation. And like I think it was in like, I don't know, something to do with the trophies or like the unlockables in Mario Kart Wii, and the only person around was either my mom or my grandma, and they were both. I love you both so much, and they have listened to the show. Thank you so much, Mom and Grandma. But they were not good at Mario Kart. They were not up to even like, I don't know, like a driver's license standard in that game. It was the one on the Wii. I mean, it was like tight motion controls are tough, but like that level of input is so. I mean, it's a good memory, and it's fun that they were bad at it. Like still, but it's like that level of like, I don't know, I guess the opposite of analog in this case is like, this will always be so special. This will always be like, just like a really, I keep saying that word, but it's like this is community. Like this is like fun with your friends. Like you can just mess around. How wonderful is that? And these like little other side mini games are like, I love trading, and I like battling, I guess, as much as somebody who doesn't really get it. But like whenever they have the extra mini games, it's like, I don't know, I feel like I'm like being like taken care of in school. Like we're gonna make learning fun, and I'm like, how great is that you thought of me when you went to the blender store and built this crazy blender.
I think it also adds like a depth of believability and immersion to the experience, because
I have
like you're actually doing the prep work. Because I mean, this is another analog to this would be Heart Gold and Soul Silver with like the apricorns, how you could bring them over to the Pokeathlon and also just like make like those blends to like get the stats better, and that's very much so like a linear, like you have it or you don't. But I mean, the fact that you ultimately for contests, because they were designed in such a way where yes, you would do this prep work first, I just think it adds to, once again, the believability of the fact that it's more than just entering this thing and just going through real fast. It's, you have to think about the types of berries you're growing, you have to think about how you're actually grinding them up, and if you're with friends, like you all have to use different berries, or you just all use nut pea berries, but you just all have to use different berries to make sure the block is sound and it doesn't like turn out to be like a gray block. And then it's once again, it's something that's engaging, and that's kind of the issue with the berry crushing compared to the blending, where the crushing you literally just spam A. At least this, like, you have to keep a tempo, and the tempo also consists of whether or not your friends are also keeping tempo.
This episode of Petalburg Woods is brought to you by the Teachy TV. Hey all you trainers out there! Hello trainers, it's me, the Poke Dude! I host a show only available on the handy dandy Teachy TV. You can bring the Teachy TV with you anywhere. Pull up an episode of my show to learn what you need anytime. We got episodes about status conditions, type matchups, the basics of Pokemon battles, and more. So pick up a Teachy TV and you'll have the Poke Dude with you at all times. Keep your eyes glued to the Poke Dude show, and remember, a good deed a day brings happiness to stay. Thanks again to the Poke Dude and the Teachy TV for sponsoring today's episode. Now, back to the show. One of the greatest things I think they ever did that they ruined in BDSP that we mentioned earlier is in fact the Sinnoh Underground, and that is like one of the best examples of like of just like giving you a space to play that was separate from like the battling and trading and stuff, and like particularly with the capture the flag thing and the traps. And so Awood, at any of your events, have you had any like Sinnoh Underground meetups?
You know, it's interesting because the Long Island Retro event was supposed to be a Gen 4 event originally. Well, we'll talk about basically, especially with the FunFest stuff, we'll most likely talk about that later, but the organizer decided to change it to Gen 5 because he was like, oh, well, if people are coming in from out of town, it'll be nice because it's like, oh, Unova's based on this area of New York, so if they're coming to this area roughly, it'd be better to do a Gen 5 event. Plus, I think he decided that it'd be better to run the FunFest stuff. But unfortunately, I haven't had any experience running official events at conventions with that. My Pokemon Club in college did have a retro game night, and people did dust off their copies of Diamond and Pearl and Platinum to do the Underground, and a lot of the time it was mainly just people like, oh, I want to get Spiritomb legitimately, but we had some fun time like setting traps and all that. Did anyone who played the Underground, if they ever got a chance to play it multiplayer, did you all ever do a string of traps that like move people and just throw them across the entire map?
Like a Rube Goldberg machine of traps?
Basically, yeah, because they always had like those fling traps where basically you step on it and it's just an arrow that flings you in a certain direction.
I used my traps very defensively. Yeah, I didn't want anyone stealing my flag. Because you know how that's supposed to be like a cooperative thing, so everyone can get Spiritomb together.
I
didn't want anyone to take my flag.
Yeah. Okay, understandable.
Maybe with like less complexity that I'm remembering, but on several occasions it wasn't even like subtle. Like I would tell my friend, it was like, hey, can you take one step forward? And like, and then like their DS just like overheats essentially because I've like put like 1,000 things. Like it's like the floor in front of us is like filled as much as they'll let it. Because I'm like, oh, this is gonna be devious, and I'm gonna rope him in by saying like, stand here, please. Like, he's gonna fall for this, hook, line, and sinker. It did come a point though of like, and I feel like this like sort of speaks to what the Underground like was and exists as of like. We would play like the capture the flag game. My friends, we had like there was almost like a meta of like trying to get each other's bases, and you'd like design your base in a way that is both, as pretty as possible, but also like you can guard your flag well enough if somebody's coming. But we eventually realized the most effective thing for both of us, for anybody, is just like we should just trade our flag like a bunch. Like this will be like a trade, and then you get the max level base, and you can get rid of all the boulders, and then we can play dolls, and that's the intended benefit of any video game experience. So we really want to play with our dolls. And I do think that, like, while it was fun and I spent a lot of time in there, it is so much more of a lobby than it is like an extracurricular. Like, because you go down there and outside of getting Spiritomb, like you said, like, I think at the end of the day, like, you just end up hanging out, and like that was revolutionary to me. When it was happening, I was like, oh my gosh, he's in my game and I'm in his.
Because that was the first time it was, from my recollection, that was the first time it was like live. Like you take one step, like your character moves. You could argue on everyone's screen.
I think the record mixing room, correct me if I'm wrong, you can see people moving around in the record mixing room. Oh yeah, the record. But I mean, that's a room. The Underground was so much more substantial. Yep. I love that you can you can dig in the same spot together. Like if someone digs next to you, you'll see like their hammer show up next to yours. And basically like you get extra hits out of their hammer for your dig. And yeah, I mean, I absolutely did both of like playing the capture the flag thing defensively, but then also once me and my friends realized how to get Spiritomb, then absolutely playing purely like with like efficiency in mind for the sake of getting those. Is it 50 flags for Spiritomb?
Spiritomb is talk.
Yeah, you have to just greet
some
people.
20 number. it's like you can do it with the same person if you leave and come back. I think it's like if you go inside of your house, it like resets your encounter because you like go private for a moment. It's some number greater than 20. It's peak novelty. Like they're like, I think. I don't know.
Right.
It's some like mathematical relationship to the 108 souls. Like, oh yeah, very very
Right.
basic stuff. Everybody should know this. It's 108 souls, by the way.
Stealing flags was to level up your base so you could get rid of the
Yep.
rocks.
Yes, you could
The
clear out the
flags were
garbage.
wild. Wasn't it like the top like level to get was like 500 or something?
A huge number. 500 feels
Maybe it was
immense.
I know it was in the triple digits. Maybe it was 100. Maybe I'm thinking of the Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire basis.
It was many,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah. And I'm also glad that the end game there was to play dolls. I'm glad I'm not the only one that just like did up his base as like a bar and just like was like, yeah, come to the bar, order stuff. Like that's what I did. You know, like there was no design whatsoever other than just like getting like those like long tables and just being like, yep, they're just along the side. That's it.
I liked making a store. They had like the Pokemon
Oh
like,
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
Yeah.
like the over the top like freezer looking things, and I liked having the little Droomish marketplace set up in the back of mine. Really, really fun. But it is like I mean after I don't know I think I guess way too much about this stuff probably when I'm like I don't know like showering or like driving to work or something. But it's like you can come up with something to do, and I think like don't let anyone tell you that dolls is not like a worthy objective, but there is like a difference in like the drive here. Like you go into berry crushing, you go into berry picking. Like we are here, like folks, we are here with a mission. We are here to get something done. Like the underground has always been and continues to be like fascinating to me for being one of those like you can kind of just do whatever you want. Like
Yep.
if like you can be done at a certain point, but like I promise you'll find something to do. While it's like I that definitely falls off after a certain point. I really think experiences like that should always be in Pokemon because I think it's kind of like that is something that feels core to me at least. Like that there should just be this game should always have dolls, and you can always even like in the most like minimal experiences like I feel like I have found ways to play dolls like on my Pokewalker for instance, which is like the little like the little flash game.
Yeah.
There should always be ways to play dolls, and these just like kind of aimless places that you can hang out in. I always think it's interesting, like I don't know who takes issue with that stuff. Also, like I just feel it's telling, like if you don't, I guess how you interact with those spaces because it's like it's a sandbox. You figure it out. Like we're not gonna like there isn't like this isn't get to the Elite Four.
Yeah.
Like you're unscripted here. Like what are you gonna do?
Really weird analog to that. Have either of you played Kirby Air Ride?
I agree. I'm just gonna say I agree.
You know what I'm
Like-
gonna say. You know what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I played dolls off pretty often in Kirby Air Ride. I'm excited you're bringing it up.
Yeah.
Please do.
I remember as a kid, me and my friends, because we had the ability to have 4 controllers set up in one console. We just did free roam in City Trial. And we would just like
Yes,
have our
yes,
own like
yes.
bases and stuff. We wouldn't even like go on the machines. We would just be like, "Oh yeah, the volcano, like oh that's my sister's house and stuff." And it was just like some weird like imaginative like role play, like weird like just playing
Yeah.
around with just like sandbox mode, not really doing much, just hanging out. Yeah, and that's just a weird analog to the underground. But yeah, that's essential. Yeah, the underground absolutely would be a place like that now that I think about it. It does wear off a little bit more. I think that you know, that is correct. But the fact that it's possible at all, you know, once again, I think it attests to the same sort of thing when, you know, people set their own goals or like what a certain mode means to them or a certain mechanic means to them, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And speaking about Pokewalker, one of the things I really enjoy
Please.
is I love the trainer house in Heart Gold and Soul Silver. When you find someone else with a Pokewalker and then you connect like with the Pokewalkers together, it saves a snapshot of their team just like a secret base would in Gen 3. And then you can battle that team. That is so great. I mean, they even had that in Gen 2
That's
with like
true.
the IR communication stuff, but oh man. I'm really upset because I have it. I think my trainer house should be full right now on my save of Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Oh, of Soul Silver. I have not beat the game yet.
Right.
So I can't go to Viridian City, to the trainer house, to battle. But it's really funny because what I did was I traded Pokemon over from my save of Platinum to Soul Silver when I specifically was getting my tags with my Pokewalker. And it was a competitive Sandstorm team. It leads out with Tyranitar. And everyone always says, like, oh, I have so many problems with your team because that's a full competitive team. And I'm like, yep, that's why I did it. You have to work for that 1 BP that you're going to get. So that's another. I just love the Pokewalker as well. And, the cool thing is the fact that basically how you bring your 3DS places, I'll usually have my Pokewalker on me.
Well, but of course,
almost
I do too. Yeah.
Is that something that like you'll encourage people to bring with them to any Pokemon event?
Absolutely. Any Pokemon event, always bring your Pokewalker because you will find someone that has one. The last time I found someone that had one, she was like literally wearing it on her hat, and I got so excited that I saw that. I basically explained twice what they did, like a broken record. I'm like, yeah, you'll be able to battle my team at the Viridian City. And she was just like,
fun.
Yeah, she was just like, oh, well, my team is just like, like low levels. And I'm like, don't worry about it. It'll be there at the end of the game in Viridian City. You'll just be able to go in, battle my team. Me, like, in the back of my head being like, I'm telling someone to go against, like, a really hard-to-beat team. So, yeah, But, and that's... I wish that they did something like that with Street Pass and X and Y. Eventually, with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, they pretty much did, but it always felt strange to me that X and Y did not have that whatsoever. Especially because they had that, the Battle Chateau, the place where you'd, like, get all the money and do, like, the gym leader rematches.
That's a good point.
It's weird they didn't have Street Pass stuff there.
Yeah, that would have been a good spot for that.
That would have been cool.
So,
yeah.
Speaking of battling, I'm curious about, like, if someone is going to an event, how should they prepare their team? Like, if they're going to battle, like, are there level caps? Are there rules? Anything like that?
So it's really hard to come up with rules that everyone would be able to battle because ideally you want to have rules where everyone can battle. Now, back 20 years ago at this point, when Journey Across America was a thing, the meta was, it was a free-for-all. It was just like, you bring whatever. The problem with that, though, is you've got some people that are like, oh, I'll bring my in-game team of, like, level 60s that I trained up and beat the Elite Four with. And then it's like, you get the uber-competitive people that are just like, I'm bringing Mewtwo, Rayquaza, Kyogre, Groudon, Mew, and Lugia. Yeah, it's just, so it's all level 100. Yeah, so it's, it's hard to determine rules for that. I think the best thing that someone should do, in my opinion, is if they are going to train as well, and this is actually a whole thing in of itself, if they are going to train, I think the best thing to do is do level 50 and level 100, just because that way, if you're doing something with no restrictions, you're able to battle at that level. Of course, this is really only for Gen 3. If you battle in like Gen 4, Gen 5, things are mostly capped. I would just say, I usually follow Battle Tower rules whenever I train teams, which is, you just don't bring box legendaries, but everything else is fair game. The hard thing, though, which is something that really upsets me, is that, like, our Ore Coliseum tournament, the person that's going to win that is going to inject Pokemon. That's a given. It's really unfortunate, and once again, it's one of those things where it's, because in Japan they usually stick to RNG manipulation, but outside of Japan, a lot of people, they just inject, and that, to me, it takes a lot of the magic out of doing your own training and doing your own breeding. But I mean, there's times and time again, people prove that, like, yeah, if you're going to sit there and you're going to like breed your Pokemon, that is such a time sink. I mean, I think of, like, I'm a Blizzy doing all those like comparison, like, time videos where he's like, yep, I'm just gonna do like a full team, and they end up spending basically the amount of time that you would spend on like a full-time job. And so well, like I said, it's been really hard to really plan around that, and in most cases we usually just recommend that if people have the ability to do so, They have their own, and like they make their own team in any way. Wink, wink. But also, I know that Long Island Retro this year, what we're doing is we have a copy of
Nice.
Pokemon Box that we're going to load rentals onto. And that way, when people, because we're going to do team sheets
Nice.
as well. So when people fill out their team sheets, there's going to be a box that they can check for rentals. And then if any of the boxes that they have are checked, when we check over their team sheet to make sure everything's legal on their team, we're then going to say, all right, go over to the rental station. And then the person will give them, their sheet back, and then they'll give that to the rental person. And then basically they'll get their rentals from there, and they'll be able to keep, it's not necessarily rentals. Like, they don't have to give them back.
Nice.
It's more so like you get these competitively trained Pokemon.
Sure.
The only thing is none of those
Ooh.
Pokemon can use Return, because Return should be a 102
Yeah.
base power move, but when it goes over to someone who's not the original trainer, that turns into 40. I think it's like 40 base power, I think. There's actually a really funny video that we recorded in Syracuse on that, because I was using a Pokemon that was injected that had Return, and I was going against Mosquito, and Mosquito's like, oh, you should have me here. And then I do less than like 40% on that, or something crazy like that. He's like, how did I live? And then he's like, wait a minute, you use Return! It's a really funny video, because I just... Granted, at that point, I think I was about like 2 beers in, because I told myself that every time and I was on an empty
Awesome.
stomach too, because every time that I said that
Okay.
I'd lose a match, like I'd lose a set, I'd drink a beer. And I was losing so much that I was like, yeah, this isn't feasible. So I tried to keep up, but I could not keep up. But the thing is, I got to my knees and I was just like screaming. I was like, no! Because I actually had him at that point. I'm not a good battler. At least in like the retro gens. I just battle because it's fun. But, Mosquito is like super good. Like he, runs all like the events and stuff, so you'd assume that he would be good at Ori Coliseum stuff. But yeah, it was just a nice... it was a good lesson for what we should do next, because that was all the way back in October. So this time around, I think we're going to try to avoid Return on rentals. But yeah, that's what I would say, though. If someone wants to show up, I would just say, there are going to be some people that are absolutely going to train their own teams. And if you want to do that in tandem with having like injected Pokemon or RNG manipulated Pokemon, that's probably the best way to go.
Cool.
Yeah. I really like the rental like structure, because I have done like they walked me through the whole process, but like Blissey and Papa Hefe like got me on like online XD with them, and they like set me up with rentals and stuff. Essentially, like we used I think, I mean, like the game itself, and this was like, I don't know, one of the most like back when I didn't know any much about Pokemon at all, and I'm like on XD, and there's like a couple of like default battle modes. There's like level 100 battles and like doubles and stuff, and they have little pre-built teams, and it's like, I don't know, there's kind of like just the teeniest taste of team building, and like before you've done any of that, and I think it's a really like it's a very inviting thing also, like to get somebody to play with you. These sets are totally totally, because I don't know, it's a very, very popular thing. They're totally like competitive, and it's like when everybody knows the tools and the team sheets are like that, it's like it becomes this really interesting game of cat and mouse. But then like I think the much bigger benefit to that is like it becomes so much more accessible, because like like I really like it. I know Caprio does too, but like we also have we only have 24 hours in the day. I guess it's like, and like I spend I just getting like a battle tower team ready. For me, it took like, I think I want to say upwards of 2 weeks, just like going at my own pace. And it's like I do just want to play. Like there's a part of me that just wants to play, and that is such a helpful part.
Yeah, it's always going to be the biggest hurdle, I think, for sure. And they do a good job these days with like lessening that hurdle for sure. It still exists, and that's also why I'm actually really excited for Pokemon Champions, because I'll be able to actually showcase all the Pokemon that I've caught and raised over the years, and they're all going to be usable, because I'm assuming that they're going to make sure that you can actually like adjust the stats in that game, or make sure that they're fully trained properly. But having to, because when I prepared for Syracuse, because I was hosting the Gen 3 tournament there, I wanted to basically have a good team, but also I wanted to make it myself just to see how much at a deficit I would be. Turns out I'm just not good at team building to begin with, because I prefer using my favorites as opposed to like I had Metagross, but like I didn't have like any of like the other like really hard hitters, and I still wanted to like train myself, but it's just yeah, even having that barrier just made it so that battles were very one-sided. So it is very much so like an accessibility issue where people aren't going to come to the event, and they're probably, I mean, some people, you'd get more people even if like, because someone could just get full rentals and that would be fine. But without the rentals, I don't even think they would participate. They would just be like, yeah, this isn't really going to be for me. So that's why this time around, because we kind of did our rentals at Syracuse on the fly. Someone else from the Ore Coliseum Discord basically brought in like a save editor so that we could actually go and do that, because we didn't have any, like we didn't even have Box at that time. But now since we've got a copy of Box and we're able to actually load Pokemon onto that, people will be able to essentially pull from there, or at the very like worst case scenarios, we can just directly trade them instead. Because Box also has weird restrictions where you need to like see 100 Pokemon or like catch 100 Pokemon before you can pull out other OT Pokemon.
Yeah.
So
unhelpful.
yep.
Yeah,
Apparently there's
do you
a
know
patch to remove that.
Absol
though.
blocks Pokemon? So Absol made a patch.
Yeah.
I'll send you that link after we're done, and I guess we can share that in the description below. For anyone who has a copy or a version of Box somehow, you can use Absol's patch to bypass any of that like annoying stuff. And that's I use Box, but it makes Box like a very usable and useful tool. Absolutely
Usable, I think.
We will need that.
Totally.
We will need that for
And
August.
then you mentioned rental Pokemon that people can borrow, and that's cool. But I guess like, are there, for battling in Gen 3 or any of the generations really, is there like an OU sign up, and then is there also like a casual sign up, or?
No, it's all one big thing. The thing is if people want to battle casually, the good thing is, when you have other events, and this is actually what happened with our FunFest event last year, but when you have other events and you have other people in the same room playing the same game, things evolve. They tend to go in another direction, whether you want them or not. For things that are like outside of what you have planned. And that's what's really nice about Long Island Retro, because they had this whole setup called the Poke Lab. And basically, because they hold it in I forget the museum name. It's like something of aviation. It's a space. I'm looking this up right now. Oh, geez. It's funny because I'm going to be there.
Okay.
It's, let's see here. The Cradle of Aviation. That's what it's called. So it's a
Great
museum.
name.
And we were in this area where they had a lunar lander. And basically, it was just like the best way to describe it was kind of like up on it had its own display. So you couldn't like get past it or anything. But on like our side, we had like they were doing like event distributions for previous games. They had to set up a stadium too. And then they had a couple of benches in there where you could just kind of sit down. And that's basically like, for example, that's where I was when I was like trading people in Gen 3. That's where they originally started us when they wanted to do the Fun Fest stuff. But then that's the whole story. I'll get into that a little later. But basically what I'm saying is there was space at the convention to do other things. Like some people traded, some people battled, some people did other FunFest missions, some people went over to the stadium set up and played like Stadium 2 mini games with their Pokemon. So there was, there's space to do that if someone wants to come in. They don't necessarily have to train a competitive team. They can just go in casually. Most likely try to, find someone that also has like roughly the same level.
Cool. So you mentioned the Metal Rally, you mentioned FunFest missions.
Yeah. Oh, this is a wild story. So let's dig into that.
I don't really have any familiarity with this. I'm very curious. I'm really interested to hear about this part. This is like one of the in-person multiplayers that I just didn't really get a chance to do when it came out.
Right. Yeah. So to start off, I want to bring attention to the person that brought us all together for this. Online, they go by the name of Ricky. His name is Eric, and he ran a online group of like gaming group, and he always wanted to do like events in person, right? So I started talking to him, like it was like late 2023, early 2024, because I was also, at that point I had basically, well, I had just graduated college, so I was no longer like an admin for my Pokemon club at all. I was just like a random person that didn't really have much going on. So I met Ricky on the Poke Classic Network Discord, and eventually what ended up happening was we got to talking, and we started running events for the Poke Classic Discord during the final days of the 3DS, because the 3DS shut down back, in 2024. It was like, I think it was like sometime in March or something. So we did two events. In February, we did a Gen 6 event where we like wonder traded. We did a multi-battle, I think. No, actually that wasn't a multi. No, we did multi-battles then. And we, just basically we wanted to use the Gen 6 features before they shut down. And then we did the Gen 7 one. We hosted like a multi-battles tournament. I had like my own custom rule set where people could battle. It was called like it was the Alola Kanto Special, I think. Something along those lines. Where basically people could only use Pokemon that were introduced in Alola. Or they could use Pokemon from... Oh, it was Alola VC. So they could use Gen 1 and Gen 2 Pokemon. But that was like the only set of Pokemon they could choose. So we got to talking, and Eric was like, I really want to do like an in-person event. And I talked to him about some of the stuff I did with Counter-Strike, because like I said, I mentioned this earlier. I also have like my own local Counter-Strike group that occasionally does things. And I talked to him about some of the things I've done in the past. So he reached out to a local place, which was at Long Island Retro. He lives down in like the tri-state area, or like, I think specifically, well, he lives in New York City. So he got basically the green light to, do his own event. And eventually he started with Gen 4, but then he decided to do Gen 5 because he figured that, one, it made more sense to do something near New York City and do Unova, but also there was something very particular that he wanted to do to help out a lot of Gen 5 players. So the Medal Rally is basically Gen 5's achievement system. And in the international releases, you actually don't really need to interact with it to get 100% on your trainer card. They kind of moved the one of the stars that you get for completing it to, I think, just like general like FunFest things. But it's still something where if you're a completionist, you probably want to go through. Two of the medals in the Medal Rally involve FunFest. And they have 30 people in one mission and get 1,000 score. Now, if you run this alone, typically the score that you would get is roughly 20 to 30. So getting 1,000 as a score is wild. Like, it normally doesn't happen. Even if you try to plan around maybe 10 people. Even 10 people probably couldn't do it. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to go to this event, and since they already had this Poke Lab section, we wanted to get as many people as possible to get those two medals. And the interesting thing about FunFest is that there's a whole bunch of different missions you can do with FunFest, and it's basically there's a lot of different missions that you can do. I know some are battling a certain type of trainer that's on the overworld. There's one where you collect treasure. A lot of item collecting ones for sure. I think there's one where you have to fight basically you get your points by fighting Audino. But the one that we did was basically just find items because it had the biggest yield. And someone named Nick Plays, who is he does a lot of things over in, I think he's out of Germany, but he does a lot of German in-person events at the EU VGC stuff. I think that's really where you'd find it. But he compiled this document where it is a route that you have to take. Basically what you do is you go to the entrance of Castelia from the bottom right of the map in Castelia. So basically the entrance where the that bridge is that goes into Pinwheel Forest.
Yeah.
I don't remember that specific bridge name, sorry, but
That's okay.
there's a path that you take, and you go up all the way to the top that connects to Route 4, And then before you actually leave Castelia, you fly to Nimbasa, and then there's another route you take, and you go all the way from there to Route 5 to the next bridge, and then to Driftvale. And basically, if everyone does that, you should get a point yield of about 30 to 40. So there's a bit of a science to it. But we actually ran into logistic problems. We didn't necessarily run into execution problems. Yes, some people showed up and they didn't know the path, so like we would like teach people the path on the fly. But there's a really funny picture which I think I should try to find and share, just so you all can see it, where we had so many people in the Pokélab area that the main guy who's dressed as like a Pokemon professor, well, basically he's just a guy in a lab coat. You can see that his hands are on his head in a very exaggerated but still very real expression of anxiety due to how many people we have filled up in this room. Because we had a ton of people for this. So we ended up getting moved outside into the hallway. That worked, and we also have some pictures of specifically when we were in the hallway. We were basically all in like one circle trying to make sure that we all joined the same Fun Fest mission. But we ended up blocking the path for people, so they had to walk around us or like not get through at all. Basically go to a completely different path, because we were just in like a random like hallway. So then they moved us again to a place that was in the corner of the museum, but it was a fire exit area. So we had to like be clear of the fire exit. But other than that, we were able to actually finally complete the 1,000 score Funfest medal right there. And the thing of itself was the fact that it wasn't necessary. Once again, it wasn't necessarily the execution, because I think that once people got the path down, we really got it. But we were running into issues where like some people would join, but they wouldn't actually get into the session that had. It was just a really weird. Oh my god! Excuse me. Let me rephrase that. It was a really weird experience where some people just couldn't connect. Like they were having connection issues on their DS. You would think that people connecting, there would be connection issues if you're adding in like over 30 DSs in one area. And some people, like we ran it a couple of times just to make sure everyone got the medal. Some people, when they got their scores, sometimes it would be under 1,000 because that one person that they didn't connect to was that one person that got like 30 or 40 for the score and pushed it over the top. So it was very strange, but we ran it a couple of times so that people could get it. And the end result was the fact that, people were able to get this medal. It's something that, was very insignificant, but if you want to, complete the medal rally, it's something you have to do.
Yeah, for the sake of 100%ing Black 2 White 2.
Yeah, and it was a triumph to say the least. I'm probably leaving a lot of details out. I know that there was someone who was making a video on it. I did ask to see if that was still coming out. Apparently he's on like the final draft of it, but he has like all the footage. His name is Codename Hawkhead. And I'm sure when that video comes out, I'm sure a lot of people will also be interested in that, because it was just wild, like the setups that we had. You had like people that were like multi-handing DSs because some people like just had two to use, and it was just a wild experience. But after all of that, we got it done, and I think that one of the coolest things that I alluded to a little earlier that happened was the fact that when we were done, people were still sticking around. We we did like things like spin trade and like the the trade area. And even the thing is too is even when doing that, just experiencing some of the things that I didn't see when I was when the game first came out. I mean, Street Pass was a thing before the 3DS, because the DS had something called tag mode, and basically if you passed someone in tag mode that had the same game as you, it would basically act as Street Pass, where like you'd connect to them. And the wild thing was the fact that you could, like people in the area, it was almost like even the, what was the PSS in Gen 6? I don't remember the exact...
PSS is awesome.
Yeah, it was almost like a prototype version of that, because like you could like send messages using it to people locally, and like you could like say thanks to people. I made someone upset because I kept on spamming thanks to them, and as a result they couldn't select anything.
Oh yeah, is this on the Seeker?
Yeah, on the Seeker, yeah.
Okay. Then I'm yes.
Even
This
even Pokemon Troze has a mode where if you leave it in your DS and then you close your DS and you go for a walk and you pass someone else with Troze, you can basically like
You've had a bunch of Troze
you can,
players recently.
primitive street pass someone in Troze. Yeah,
Yeah, maybe that's what we should do instead of FunFest.
that would be so funny. What does someone need to do to prepare for to participate in the FunFest mission?
You know what? I'm glad you asked because we are actually doing it again this year at the next Long
Excellent.
Island Retro Game Expo. We are so what you have to do. It's really not too bad. You basically only have to play up until you get to Driftvale City. You want to make sure that you have all of the trainers defeated on Route 5. I don't think there's any trainers on the bridge that you have to go across. I always forget the name of the bridge, but I remember like the in-game lore is that they call it the Charizard Bridge because Gen 1 fandom or something. But anyways, you have to basically clear up to Driftvale. And from there, it's because it's a very early on mission. And the thing is, too, is the fact that it just is the best route to take. Oh, actually, wait. You need to have fly, because the thing is you need to be able to fly from the top of Castelia to Nimbasa. So I don't remember the order in which you get fly in that game, but I would assume it's probably after Skyla. I would assume, because that's...
I think that's when you get it. So one gym past your fill.
Yep. Yeah. So that would be what someone would have to prepare for just for that. It was a very, and that was the nice thing too, because with that path and that particular like strat, you could get a lot of people where even if they just brought their games, they weren't initially going to participate. We had some people that just didn't know that was a thing, and then we were able just to like, show them the path, and then from there, they were able to participate. So that one really doesn't take a lot of preparation, and that's what's so nice about this event too, because you get two. Otherwise, what would be locked to time, events, or not events, medals that you wouldn't be able to get on your own. So,
and again, for folks listening, this is specific to Black 2, White 2, not also Black and White.
Yeah, Black and White didn't have those. They had something else, but I don't think it was Fun Fests. And of course,
weird Entcherling stuff.
Yeah. I really wanted to see if other people wanted to do other fun fests as well, because I know that there's like a rank for the like they sort them by version. So there's like black fun fest missions and there's white fun fest missions, or like there's like levels to them based off of like which ones you do. And I'm kind of hoping that really our goal this year is we actually want to try to get the world record, where we get 100 people. And the funny thing is that we've been told by the event organizers that they're going to try to get more space for us. But we may have to go out into, like, the parking lot or something. But that would be wild to have to do that in the first place.
So how many
we'll
people
see how
would
it
you
goes.
need?
But I'm really excited for
this year. How many people would you need to get world record?
How many people? Oh, geez. I don't know. They were talking about it in our planning group, but I genuinely don't know. If I can find it real quick off the... Let's see. I'm just going to try to see if I can find any screenshots or anything. I will say that... Yeah, I will say that we were close, I think, even only getting 1,000.
Okay.
And also, the act of getting over 1,000 anyways, since the year in which Black 2 and White 2 were actually like the games to play, I think has only happened 5 times in the world, according to what I've heard from Mosquito. Like, documented. I've heard of other YouTubers trying to...
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, because it's just one of those things where you have to do a lot... You have to have a lot of people that have the game that are up to that point at the very most, but... and
this is like the $150 game now, also, by the way.
Yep. So, it is... It's just a... And the thing is, too, is that we use this strat because otherwise, if we don't have a certain route to take, then it all kind of crumbles, because then we don't necessarily know like where like the item spawns are, or if like it's a battling one, we don't know where we need to go to do like the optimal battling. So it's definitely with this like route, it definitely works out for the best. But that's why so few attempts have actually been successful, because people have attempted. They haven't gotten both of them. They may get like one medal, like they might get like the 30 participant one, but they don't have the score 1,000. In fact, we had, I think the account that we had at the end, I think was like 38 people,
Wow.
maybe 41, and we barely broke over the 1,000 record.
So even having
the
30
thing.
people doesn't necessarily guarantee you the 1,000 points.
Yeah, that was why we
Right.
kept trying too, because we definitely got like the 30 people like really easily, because that's just like 30 available people to participate. But getting the points too was difficult. But yeah, this year they really, we weren't necessarily thinking about doing this again this year, but it was actually the event, like the actual like event organizers that wanted us to do it again, because they were just like, the fact that you guys did that in any capacity and actually made some headway with it, actually put up like a good number, is wild. So I'm really thinking that this year we could go for the world record. We could get 100
Cool.
people. We could document it and share it and just be the talk of
The talk of the Pokemon community. Yeah.
Gen 5 community.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's my ultimate goal, really, I don't know, because if we did that, then I think that would be a platform for then saying, like, listen, like, if you live in, like, a town that has, like, a local Pokemon group, go and, like,
Totally.
feel it out, try to do, like, your own events and stuff, because at the end of the day, I really think that if people see something like that, where you're able to, accomplish something like that, I mean, who knows what else you can accomplish, I mean, you could do, like, your own, like, I don't know, like, your own, like, regional Pokemon League, where, like, you play, like, a certain gen, or, like, you could do, like, once again, like, the Gen 4 stuff. I don't know the cap of the underground, for example, like, I don't know what that is.
Me neither.
Maybe it's
How
probably,
many people can we get underground?
Yeah, I don't know if there's got to be a hard cap, I assume, but being able to hit that and like being able to experience that, like maybe that won't be me, but maybe that's like someone out like west that like hears that like in on the East Coast we're doing something like that. I don't know.
Oh yeah, out west, Gold Rush. That makes sense.
Yeah, I don't have any existing events like this near me in Eastern Canada, at least not as far as I know of. But yeah, I am like inspired to like reach out to some friends and get them to reach out to friends and see if we can even get like a small group of us, but something started to start doing stuff like this locally. I am inspired, I would. So yeah.
Yeah, same. I don't think I have anything like this, but I want to try. Like because I've always wanted it. Like this is special.
It truly is magical, to say the least. I know that's kind of, it sounds like a very like hammed up response, but it's true. In my experience of doing in-person events, I think the common theme is that I meet other people that are also interested in doing like big events like this. And this is how that's how I met Ricky. That's how I met Mosquito. That's how I've been able to actually volunteer and basically go up to convention organizers and say like, I have this experience under my belt, whether it be from, once again, like the college group that I used to manage, or otherwise just doing conventions. I mean, looking back at it too, I mean, here's something wild. I didn't mention this about my college club, but when Gen 8 was like the generation, I think we might have been some of the only people to actually utilize the local battle competitions feature. Because at the beginning of the year, so what we do at my college is that we actually have gym leaders. And we have a tournament at the beginning of the year where we do a meta it's based around OU and a lot of its bands, and it's single battles, but it's a monotype tournament, with the exception of you get one wild card. And we actually host, in the beginning of the year, we do like a tournament where like the top 8 people become gym leaders. And we did a local battle competition with, I think it was 44 people. Yeah.
This is so cool. This is so
So we
cool.
had 44 people with our own custom meta. and our own, basically like our own like house rules. And the top 8, and like we actually 3D print badges. I've got some of them that and we paint them, and I've got some of them around here. Yeah, if you ever come to Rochester, RIT Pokemon Club, show up and get some badges. I'm trying to find them. Man, yeah.
This is what it's all about.
So, anyways,
It is.
yeah. But anyways, it's I look at that, and I also say to myself, now that I'm outside of college, because I can go back anytime. I still live in the area, and occasionally I do go back. But I would love to. My main goal, really, overall, myself when I'm trying to do events, is I want to bring that magic and that community feeling to people that they don't necessarily like. You shouldn't have to like go to like a college just to like experience a game like this. You shouldn't have to be a part of one particular. I just think that I got lucky because I was able to find a whole bunch of, lack of better expression, I found a whole bunch of, well, I was gonna say a whole bunch of nerds, but we're known as kind of like a nerdy school. But a whole bunch of people that are really passionate about the games. I just got really lucky with that because that just happened to be like where I was at the time. But there's a lot of people out there, and this is my fear: the fact that once again they just play the games, they beat the Elite Four, and then they're like they don't touch it ever again, like they're done, like it's just like that's it. I saw the credits, I'm good. But there's just so much out there that if I'm able to provide something of that nature, where it's I provide like, yep, you can come in and we've got XD Gel Darkness setups where we've got the link cables. All you have to do is connect your Game Boy Advance at the Pokemon Center, and you're going to be battling, and you will be able to see your battle. Or once again, the FunFest stuff where it's like, here we are like trying to like go for like a world record at this point, and doing things that people have not done basically since the year the game released. That to me is just so exciting, and being able to provide that to basically anyone. In some capacity with the know-how and the ability to do so, and it's just peak gaming, really.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's
Yeah, me too.
that's where I'm at with that. So, I will say once again, this is going to happen at Long Island Retro. It's
Yes, please. How do people get involved?
Yeah. So, unfortunately, since this is happening at a convention, you do have to have a pass to the convention. But if you just type in Long Island Retro Game Expo into Google, or their website is like liretro.com. I'm checking that just to be sure. liretro.com. It's happening in August. It's August 8th through the 10th. We're going to be probably hosting that on the Saturday. So that should be August 9th. Let's see, August 9th, 2025. Just checking to make sure. Yeah, it should be August 9th is when we're actually going to be doing that. We will hopefully be able to have an in-person location where we can all kind of meet instead of having to be moved 3 or 4 times like we were last time. But, even if you're not doing Gen 5, I mean, once again, basically, I did Mystery Gift in Gen 2 when I was there. And I like I said, I traded a bunch of people that awesome. I met in Gen 3. I spread out Starf Berries. They had stadium setups with the transfer pack, so you could do like Gen 1 or Gen 2 battles. They had the Game Boy printer. I printed off, it's on my corkboard right now, but I printed off just like a Dex entry of Wooper, and then I like wrote mail in Gen 2 where it just says Wooper is fucking Kino. And it's just on there on like the printer. It's faded now because unfortunately it's been exposed to sunlight, but yeah, they had a Game Boy printer. I've never used that, so that was cool. They do event really distributions cool. as well. So I know a lot of that is really accessible these days. Like anyone with like a flash cart can just like get like the distribution for, the Birth Island distribution or the what's the other island? The Deoxys Island. Why am I'm blanking on that. Oh, no, Birth Island, Naval Rock. Island. I was right. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so you get Birth Island, Naval Rock. They do all those ones too. They even do the Gen 1 and Gen 2 distributions of Mew and Celebi there, which was really cool. I have a Celebi in my crystal now because
And
of that.
it's even though like those things are accessible in a variety of ways, it is cool to like simulate like the experience of going to a place and receiving the mystery gift.
Yeah, absolutely. It really did, because when I got my Celebi, it really felt like when I was, I think I was
it like
9
takes
or
you
10 at
back.
the time. I should have been 9. Yeah, should have been 9 when they did the Toys R Us Mystery Mew event. Like I vividly remember that because my childhood friend was there too.
Yeah.
We just we met up there, and that's yeah, just unexpectedly. Yeah, so I think that honestly they do a really good job at LI Retro. I personally, we've been getting increasingly successful too with stuff, and I really want to branch out to other conventions. Like I know Too Many Games is one. Too Many Games actually had the wild thing that they actually had their own Battle Frontier like 7 years ago.
What do you
when I
mean?
went. Yeah. They had the volunteers that you could battle that trained certain teams in
Okay.
certain formats. And basically after beating all of those volunteers, like they would mark off on a card your progress through their own Battle Frontier.
That's so cool how like
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta
Yeah,
go. We gotta
that
go to this
sounds
stuff,
so
Caprio. We gotta
sick.
go. We gotta go out. We gotta leave the house one of these days.
I will say I use pretty much all of my PTO to go to those cons. I basically had to use when I went down to New York City. I used that as like my vacation last year because it was just like, oh, I'm usually on the other side of the state, so this is really nice to be here, and I get to go and yeah. But I would recommend it so much. Even if I don't know where y'all are located, Caprio, just based off of some of the statements, Eastern Canada,
Yep.
So like what, like Nova Scotia? Or?
You got me.
Okay, yeah. I don't really know
Not
what goes
much.
on over there, but oh, dang, because it would be rough to get to anywhere on like the tri-state area. All this stuff really goes off of the tri-state area is the thing too. In my area, we got nothing other than like the one convention that I think I might try to start doing stuff for. But other than that, well, I guess there was Syracuse too with Retro Game Con. But yeah, sometimes you just have to look what's out there and kind of like start doing stuff yourself and see what sticks. I mean, even when I went to Syracuse, I only ever got like, I think it was like 5 people. But it was enough to like, we just did round robin on XD Gal Darkness
And
battling.
that's the thing. Like I think there are people here that would be interested. I think just no one has like made the event happen yet. So, and maybe I'll do that.
Yeah, it also definitely helps to like have a platform as well. I don't really have much of a presence outside of like Counter-Strike or anything, but I always see like, I mean, I know that Absol blogs Pokemon. Doesn't he? He'll occasionally like do stuff where like he brings in a bunch of people for events, right?
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
That sounds familiar. I mean, they do and it happens at like, I mean, it usually is based around like regionals, tournaments. Like it's a good place. It's like
Yeah.
a good like a cornerstone for it. But then really cool stuff happens.
Right. Yeah. So, but fortunately, one of the things that we did for Long Island Retro is that guy I previously mentioned, Ricky. He knows a lot of people. There's a Discord called like the 3DS Cord, where it's basically focused on Street Pass meetups, where he was able to share that. We're both good friends with the people that run the Poke Classic Network. There's other like Discords that I've been talking to just to like pitch like the idea and see if we can like get it on like the event stuff, and even just like general gaming stuff. We'll find that a lot of people that are, otherwise, like if it's like a Nintendo gaming Discord, will like find like success there or things along those lines essentially. But I mean, and plus too, the thing is I don't know, like it's hard to cultivate that initially, but we were once again, we were really lucky with Ricky, and I'm really lucky to have been able to show up on this podcast. I really do appreciate that,
Well,
guys.
thanks for writing to us, and
Yeah.
thanks for joining us.
Oh yeah, of course.
I loved it.
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah. We got to make it happen. I want to make it happen now. Okay, folks. I think that's all we've got for this time on Petalburg Woods. You can find us, Caprio and I, outside of the forest as well. I'm on YouTube, of course. Then we're both on Twitch, Droomish _ Caprio _ anything to plug, Wood, for you?
Other than Long Island Retro, you know what? Why not? My friend might like it. If you guys don't mind, I have a friend who is currently, and he's not streaming right now. His name is L Factory on YouTube. That is, let me see if I can find the spelling for that. I'm not gonna. Oh yeah, I found it. ALPHACTORY, and right now he is doing a rats only playthrough of Heart Gold, where he's only using Raticate, and every subscriber he gets gets a rat in game. He has over 200 rats in his box. So, also a really cool person for Pokemon White 2, because apparently he actually capped out the counter in that game for time. So,
I love that you didn't.
Goodness gracious!
I love that you didn't plug yourself. You plugged your friend.
Yeah, that's nice.
Well, I don't really have much of a presence, to be fair. But if people also just want to see what I'm talking about, I'm on Blue Sky. My handle is awood.blog. I also have a blog site.
Yeah.
That's that same.
Yes.
Yeah.
That same address.
I love this
plug
blog.
your blog.
I love this blog so much.
I don't
Please,
update it
the
that
people
much.
need to read.
And it's not all about Pokemon too. A lot of it is actually about Counter-Strike, and I think I've got some other things in there that there's one where it's just like why I think F-Zero X is the better game compared to F-Zero GX. But if people want to check it out, that's there too. But like I said, I'm on Blue Sky, so.
What is the name of the blog again?
It's the website is just awood.blog.
Okay.
So yeah, he's got a blog. Okay, cool. Well, let us know what you thought of the show. Please leave us a review. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to like and subscribe, do all the good YouTube stuff. And until next time, please leave your repels at home and come visit us in Petalburg Woods. Bye-bye, folks. Petalburg Woods is hosted by Droomish and Capreo and produced by Girl Luigi. The theme music is by Capreo, and additional artwork is by Mo Paint Stuff. Let us know where you'd like to visit in the Pokémon Universe next. Email us at petalburgpod@gmail.com. And until then, leave your super repels at home and come visit us in the Petalburg Woods. See ya!